Welcome to the Bite-Sized Storytelling Show, brought to you by Commaful.com, where we bring you techniques, advice, and stories that will help you on your writing journey. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to our special guest.
Hello, Commaful. My name is Ashley Scott Meyers. I'm a screenwriter and blogger, podcaster over at sellingyourscreenplay.com. I've been writing screenplays for over 2 decades and have even sold a few. Check out my IMDb listing to see a full list of my credits. So running the Selling Your Screenplay podcast, I get a lot of user questions sent in, so I thought I would answer one of the most common questions that I get. And that question is, how do I get an agent? So the short answer is that you simply query them. You can call, email, or even snail mail them a pitch for your screenplay, and if they really like it, then they might request to read the full screenplay. You can find lists of all the WGA agents at WGA.org. That's the Guild for Professional Screenwriters. So for the most part, these are fairly reputable agencies, and they're all signatories to the WGA. If you can get any interest from one of them, you're probably in pretty good shape. Now, how about getting a manager? The way the current screenwriting climate is, a lot of writers get a manager first, as managers are a little more into developing writers, not just making sales. So even if your script isn't perfect, if they see potential, they might sign you. And then hopefully they'll work with you to develop material. And once they think it's ready, they'll probably have contacts with agencies and they can submit you. And those submissions are going to come with, they're going to be much more powerful because those submissions are coming from a manager that hopefully this agent already knows. So there's probably some relationship that's already existing and you're just kind of piggybacking on that if you can get a manager first. The agents are more involved in actually getting you work and negotiating the deals, as opposed to the manager, who's more involved in developing material and helping you develop as a writer. There's quite a bit of government oversight with agencies, at least here in California, but not so much with managers. So you want to be a little more careful when dealing with managers, especially at the onset if you don't really know them yet. Just be careful, look at the contracts that they want you to sign, perhaps consult with an attorney. And again, most people in this business, as with anything, most people are, earnest, trying to make a living, trying to, advance their own careers. And so I don't want to be overly pessimistic about what you might run into, but be smart about what you do and definitely take the time to read contracts and understand what you're signing if you do get an agent or manager that's interested in signing you. Okay, so then the question, of course, is how do you get a manager? I would recommend IMDb Pro. It's cheap, like $15 a month, and it's, in almost all cases, you can find an email address for agents, managers, producers, directors, actors, pretty much everyone in the business. So just start searching for writers on IMDb Pro. You can find their name, you can click on it, drill down, and then you can figure out who their manager, who their agent is, and you can start to build a list of managers from that. And after you do this for a while, probably 10 writers, 15 writers, 20 writers, you'll start to see a lot of the same companies over and over again, and you'll start to recognize them. And again, you can start to sort of understand the hierarchy of these managers, kind of the good ones, what are the ones that have the best clients. Those sorts of things will be very educational for you. So building the list is not a bad idea, just to kind of learn who these people are and kind of get familiar with the company names and even the people's names. Now, a couple things to look out for. If an agent or manager, especially so-called managers, asks for any money up front for any reason, that is a real big red flag. I've run into that over the years. So definitely, really, if anybody is asking for money up front, that is a red flag. You don't want to deal with that person. A real agent and manager gets paid when they sell something of yours. So if they can't float their own administrative costs or whatever other baloney they come up with for why they need some money up front, they are not a real agent or manager. And they'll have a million reasons why you need to kick in money. They want to hire a casting director so they can attach talent to your project. They want to create a fancy business proposal so they can pitch it to their, finance contacts. They'll have lots of reasons for why they want this upfront money, and they'll seem very valid. But again, a real agent, a real manager understands that they are in it with you and they are going to have to float some administrative costs until they get that sale. And then that's what their portion pays for. So no, you should not be paying administrative costs for your agent and manager. And if they're asking for that, that's probably a red flag. Again, I don't want to overemphasize this. These are rare occurrences. I know a lot of writers come into this thinking everyone's out to steal their stuff and this sort of stuff. And I don't want to overstate these concerns, because I mean, I've queried, thousands of agents and managers over the years, and these two things that I've just mentioned have happened, maybe 5 times or something. So it's not something that's common, I would say, but it is something that will happen, and you do want to be smart about it. The other thing, which is more mild, which I've seen again a number of times, is sometimes you'll pitch a company and they'll tell you to get coverage, which basically means they just want a reader to read the script and kind of lay it out for them, as opposed to them reading the whole script. This sounds reasonable enough, but of course these coverage services are going to charge money, so they're going to recommend their friend. I'm not sure if these actually involve kickbacks or not. Maybe not. But it's considered unethical. And again, any real agent or manager is going to understand that there's kind of a conflict of interest, or that it could look a little bit shady, and they're not going to do this. They're going to just say no. They're going to have their own internal readers that can read it for them. They can read the script themselves, read a few pages of the script. So again, if they're trying to get you to go to a coverage service and pay a coverage service that they know and trust, and if they like it, I'll read your script, those things may be true. And I think in a lot of cases, it is a way for producers just to save time. Hey, send it to my buddy, pay him to read the script, and if he likes it, then I'll take a look at it. I don't know that there are kickbacks of these things, but again, a real agent, a real manager understands that there's sort of a perception there that is not necessarily ethical, and so they will avoid those types of things. So again, I don't want to overstate these potential problems, but do look out for them. So hopefully that answers the basic questions and give you some actual tools to actually go and execute this. But here's the thing. Right after I sold my first script and it got produced, I literally queried every single agent on that WGA list that I just mentioned. And I also queried a bunch of managers. I also was building lists of managers. This was probably even before IMDb Pro. So there were other ways to do it back then. But I had a list of managers. I think there was about 400 query letters I sent out. This was in the days of snail mail. Again, this was after my first sale when the film got produced. I thought, I'm in good shape. I'll query these and then I'll be able to sign with an agency. So again, I sent out about 400 letters. I think I got maybe 4 or 5 companies actually responding, requesting some scripts. From those 4 or 5 script requests, I think I got one meeting, and that one meeting didn't result in anything. So I actually came out of selling my first script without an agent, without a manager. I obviously sold it before I had an agent or manager, but even going through that process after the movie was finished, I still couldn't get an agent or manager. So really think about that. And again, this first film I sold, it was a $2 million production. It had Sean Astin, Shannon Elizabeth, and Brian Dennehy. And again, at the time, those were pretty big names, bigger names, frankly, than they probably are now. So this was not a huge production, a huge, $100 million production, but it wasn't nothing either. It was a legitimate film with, real actors. Brian Dennehy certainly, back then in the late 90s was sort of at the pinnacle of his career. I think he had just come off of a stage performance, Death of a Salesman stage performance. He was considered a great actor. Again, this was a real production, but I, again, could not get an agent or manager. So really keep that in mind. It's very, very difficult to get these agents or managers interested in you. And, these were people that are busy and they're out trying to sell their own material, and they've got, there's more writers than good writers than there is jobs. And so they've already got a stash of good writers that they can't find work for. So taking on another writer that they probably can't find work for is, it's a difficult thing for them, and they've got to really, really, really believe in the script. So again, keep that in mind. I've had more luck going straight to producers. In fact, not a single sale or option that I've had has come through an agent or manager. In fact, as I sit here today, I don't have an agent or manager now. I'm still selling scripts, optioning scripts, getting scripts out there. I do all the selling myself. I have found that the agents and managers, frankly, they've been more of a hindrance to me. They kind of slow me down. They don't want me submitting the script as aggressively as I typically tend to do. So again, at this stage of my career, I don't spend any time looking for an agent or manager. Of course, if a great agent or manager, popped up and wanted to sign me, I would definitely consider that. But it's nothing I spend time on because I know I can sell stuff without an agent or manager. And honestly, I think that's a better approach, is go learn how to sell your own stuff. And then when you actually get to a position where you need an agent or manager, you'll probably be much more likely to get one. I'm quite sure with my credits and experience now, I'm sure I could find an agent or manager. I'm just not sure the agent or manager that would sign me would actually be a help to my career. The other thing, again, if you're not having any luck querying these agents or managers, find producers using the same IMDb method I mentioned above. Just email them. You have your pitch letter already created. Email them. Find directors who might want to direct your film. Find actors who might want to star in your film. Move to LA. Living in Los Angeles, there's so many opportunities to put yourself out there and network a little bit. Get a job in the entertainment business. Network that way. Network on social media if you don't live in LA. Lots of people in the business are on social media, and I'm not talking about famous people who we've all heard of who won't even respond to your message because they're too big and too famous. I'm talking about lower level development people. Again, go on IMDb, find out who these people are. See if you can track them down on Twitter. See if you can start to follow them. Get to know these people. Go out and shoot a short film. Go shoot a feature film. But the bottom line is you need to get yourself out there, and finding an agent isn't the only way to do it. And if you are stuck and you say, I can't find an agent or manager, just go around that and start doing other stuff. Don't wait around for an agent or manager. Don't let that be sort of the bottleneck. You can get out there and you can move your career forward even without an agent or manager. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. As mentioned, I run a weekly podcast where I interview filmmakers and mostly screenwriters, and they talk about how their films came together. Just go to sellingyourscreenplay.com. I also run a screenwriting contest, sellingyourscreenplay.com/contest. We're looking to find the best low-budget screenplays out there, and we're going to present them to the industry. You can also find me on social media links. Again, just go to sellingyourscreenplay.com. All my social media links are in the upper right-hand corner. Anyways, thanks for listening to this little blurb, and I hope you found this valuable.
If you found this interesting, be sure to like, subscribe, and give a special thanks to our volunteer instructor. Reviews and likes really go a long way and help us provide more awesome writing resources to the Commaful community. If you aren't on Commaful yet, you can join a community of poets, short story authors, and fan fiction writers on Commaful.com.